that crap was.
What is that crap, Chris? Hi, welcome to Avatar The Last Podcasters. My name's Shawn. The guy talking to himself over there is Chris Blaze. I'm technically on the phone with him or whatever. The phone? Not on the phone. On the internets with is Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek. This is Avatar The Last Podcasters. A little show we've done for like 5 years now or something ludicrous. 5.5 years maybe. It's pretty wild. And today we're talking about Netflix Avatar The Last Airbender Netflix live action, episode 4, which is called Into the Dark. And Chris, what have you
The
been doing?
best title ever.
Best title ever. You know what? Is it
It's fine.
better or
Thing is-
worse than I take offense with the next one. I take issue. Take exception. That's it. I take exception with the next one being called Spirited Away. Like, that's too.
No, I'm cool with it's an homage to Miyazaki. It's fine.
But it doesn't. It's not a good homage to the movie. So it feels like
One thing,
it feels like clickbait to me.
I am not a fan of Miyazaki films. Like, I love anime, but Miyazaki films, they just feel like animated Wes Anderson films. That's just not.
Let me Google Wes Anderson before I respond to that statement. Let's see if I know this person. Last week, 10 minutes ago, I Googled Terrence Howard. Now I'm Googling Wes Anderson. What's he
Let's
make?
see. Like almost quirky. Like I say that in the sense of like, oh yeah, this is cool and whimsical and stuff, and like it has its audience. But I'm just
Oh, his
like I.
list of films is exactly the type of stuff I don't enjoy. You meant that to be insulting.
But I mean, the thing is, yeah, I do need to watch. I do need to rewatch Princess Mononoke. That was like my first. Like I remember when it came on TV one time. I was like, holy crap, this looks freaking amazing. I don't remember the story much, but it was like this this girl is riding this huge freaking wolf, and like the animation is really cool. Like I remember loving watching it and not really remembering much about it. I think I watched it one time. I really need to rewatch Princess Mononoke.
Spirited Away is my first favorite, almost exclusively because of the soundtrack. Like, it's like everything else
Really?
on
I
vacuum.
thought
Soundtrack is amazing. Second
I
favorite is
have
probably Princess Mononoke. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted
uh,
you.
no, I interrupted you actually. I think.
No, those are my
I
top two good ones.
I have recently in recent memory rewatched Spirited Away, and I don't like that movie. Like it's like we are so different in this because um yeah, I watched it maybe a year ago or so. So with a full and paying full attention and kind of just waiting, I just found it to be kind of boring. Like
How'd you feel about the music? Not that that's a perfect
um
1-to-1, but
oh, you know what, it was whimsical in a very good way if I can remember correctly. I do remember being like, I think started off, I was in a sense spirited away. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like it's just I don't know. I was feeling it. I was feeling the vibe and stuff. Music going really well. The animation is beautiful. I can't argue with that. It's very appeasing to the eye. Really makes me miss 2D animation, which I can't wait for Avatar Studios to do their stuff.
as I'm looking
Um,
down this list, um, so I'm do you pronounce Ghibli or Ghibli Studio Ghibli?
I believe it's Ghibli.
Ghibli. Ghibli. I'm not as familiar with the overall list of Miyazaki or Ghibli films as I maybe would have thought. Those two are close together though. Princess Mononoke is 97.
They're
Spirited Away
definitely
is
the
01.
biggest.
And those would be the two that come to mind first. I remember a little bit of Kiki's Delivery Service, not a ton.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of other things in there that aren't super familiar to me. But anyway, that's
It's And I feel, as a lover of Avatar: Last Airbender, I feel somewhat a little bit ashamed that I don't love Miyazaki films because the Miyazaki films are like so influential to the show. Like Brian and Mike love Miyazaki. This show would not exist without Miyazaki, and I'm just like, yeah, I wish I loved those
Listen,
films.
they took the good parts as the inspiration and not the other parts. I'm looking just out of curiosity. I'm looking at Studio Ghibli now, not just Miyazaki, just to see. Oh, that no. Okay, yeah, it's really just those two that I have any kind of fondness or memory of. But
I've only watched like 3 films, but also I don't even like Akira either. Like I found it hard to watch Akira, and I haven't even finished it honestly.
I'm not familiar with that at all. Akira.
It's one of the biggest anime movies of all time. It has inspired a lot of different things. There's just the one shot. I'm sure you've seen it somewhere. Have you ever seen the shot of a motorcycle going away from the camera, then turning? That is
I'm looking
from
at the image
Akira.
right now, and yeah, I've not seen the movie, but absolutely just the references. Pardon me. Anyway, yeah, I don't remember how we got on that topic, but oh, the title. I just whatever. It's fine. It's a fine title. I'll I'll downgrade it to an issue. But today's title is Into the Dark. Chris, you done anything in the past 20 minutes that you feel like telling the world how you are,
No,
what you've done?
we talked a lot about pizza.
We talked a lot about pizza, and probably in a not embarrassing. That's too strong a word. Probably a surprising fondness for two of my favorite people in the world, Chris. That's you and my wife. You both worked at McDonald's. You're
Oh,
two of the only people I know that worked at McDonald's and that still like you didn't get sick of McDonald's. You still both
ah,
happily. It's not like, oh, it's just McDonald's. Like, no, I like McDonald's. It's delicious. And I can't think of any other people I know that worked at McDonald's that share that. And I love McDonald's too, so I'm happy to be trapped in that mindset. And also Taco Bell while we're throwing out names. But hey, that being said, let's jump right into the dark, which is episode
I thought you
4.
were gonna say we're the only 2 people you know who likes Totino's pizza,
That part
frozen
might
pizza.
be true, and it's not that you're wrong. It's $1 or whatever a pizza. You go ahead and do
I
whatever you
know,
want.
right?
I'm gonna take the pizza rolls, Chris. There's pizza rolls. They're dippable too, right? The ranch, the cane sauce,
I've
the hot sauce,
never,
whatever. Dip them.
I've never dipped pizza rolls before.
I'm
That's
not a
interesting.
big ranch on pizza guy,
I
but
am a ranch on pizza guy.
I love dipping my crust, right? So dipping a pizza roll somewhere in between that and a hot sauce, ranch, marinara, whatever weird sauce creation you want to dip it in, they're dippable instantly. It's perfect. Go if you have an air fryer and you haven't done it in a while, go get yourself some pizza rolls. This is important. Just take notes. 6 minutes on, okay?
Okay.
Leave, forget about them for like 10 minutes, right? They're still in their flaming hot residual cooking phase. Come back, throw them on 1 or 2 more minutes to warm them back up without setting your mouth on fire. Get the nice crispy outer, hot inner, 6 and 2, 375 degrees maybe. He doesn't even have it. For those of you listening only, he doesn't even have a piece of paper. It's fake. And don't buy off-brand pizza. I've tried some off-brand pizza rolls that made me very unhappy. That's one place where you gotta get actual Totino's pizza rolls. Don't skimp. Let's talk about the episode though, and I'm getting hungry. Would you
All right.
care to
Left off.
summarize?
Sure. We left off. Aang was captured by the Earth Kingdom forces, soldiers, whatever. This episode starts off with Aang and Iroh both in prison, and Aang and Iroh, I love their conversations with each other.
I do too.
It's really
In
stuff.
this specific, not just in the anime, but specifically in the live action, what how they frame these conversations.
Hmm. Yeah, I want to say in the cartoon, Aang and Iroh The only time they ever talk is in Crossroads of Destiny episode where Angus, where Angus asked Iroh about like talk to the Guru. He told me, I could choose great power, but I have to give up love. And Iroh was like, power is overrated. Like love is really important. Like one thing, oh man, I need to just go and watch that. Um, but that hopefully we get some of that in this. But this is like the conversations we've had of Aang and Iroh together have all been really, really good.
Yeah, Toph and Iroh interact more than Aang and Iroh in the
Yeah,
animated
yeah,
series.
yeah.
But
When he's like, Toph says you give great advice, and you're like, you're wait, Aang and Iroh has never spoken.
I never
Like
thought about it.
Toph spoke to Iroh before Aang. In fact, I don't think Iroh speaks to. There's one time Iroh speaks to Katara, and I want to say it's Katara because it's the pirate episode where someone is like, Katara, it's not your fault. And Iroh's like, it is your fault. It's so much. Anyway, they had a really great conversation.
Hmm?
And then Aang is like, hey, like, tell Zuko, like, to stop this. Like, he'll listen to you. He owes you that much, which is a little weird because why would Aang know that Iroh owes Zuko anything? Why would he even be privy to their dynamics? But whatever. The good part of that is Iroh's like, you misunderstand. Like I'm the one that owes him. And at first I was like, Iroh, you say this, but you're lying. Like,
That's like a Midwestern polite thing that he just saying it.
yeah. And so I think that was really great because it sets up for something at the end there that we're gonna get. Because even in the animated show, speaking of his conversation with Toph, well, I'm talking a lot about this little 2 minute clip. But his conversation with Toph was like, you should tell Zuko, you should tell your nephew how much you need him too. And like I've all the animated show, I get the sense that the relationship is like a 75-25 kind of deal where Zuko gets the most benefit from it. And after this episode, the with the live action, I feel like it's more so 50-50. Maybe 55-45.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah. All right. So now we go back to Sokka talking to the Mechanist, and they're kind of talking about how, hey, Mechanist, you were making weapons, and Sokka's like, that's messed up, man. And Mechanist is one thing I hate. Mechanist is like, oh, this is nothing. Like it's like this stuff can't be like I don't give him like weapons and stuff. I just give him ideas. And then they try to like you've been saying nerf. Like why are we trying to make everyone seem less flawed? Like let him be flawed. Like I get why he's flawed. He had he had to save his son, and the only way he could do that was to make weapons for the Fire Nation. That was a good enough reason. You didn't have to try to build in some type of excuse
It's
away
also
or
it's also plenty empathetic. Like it's not that it's a good thing,
yeah
but like who wouldn't want to protect their kids at all costs? You know, so it's like horrible,
yeah
but in a well written way.
yeah.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
talk. Um, then Katara and Sokka. Oh, their plan is they have to save Aang, which is kind of a. It's hard to right now at this point in the episode. They know Aang has been kidnapped. They're like, we have to go save Aang. And I think my first time watching this, and maybe even now, it doesn't feel that important to go save Aang because I know Aang is fine. Aang was captured by Earth King, and people were like, you don't have to save him. In the episode, they do save him, but it just felt like you guys were making much to do about. No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I am somewhat compromised or somewhat biased because I know how the story goes, I know that Aang really isn't in any trouble, and so I don't know their determination to save Aang fell a little flat.
It did. It felt like I'm gonna call it just sort of manufactured drama. Like, hey,
Hmm.
make the noise
Yeah,
louder so it sounds more serious.
yeah, absolutely. Uh, Iroh gets taken to. He's gonna go down to the pit apparently by the fighting soldiers. Meanwhile, Aang goes to see the king, and he realizes that it's Boomy. And like Aang goes in for a hug, and the soldiers like no. And at first I was like, whoa, what? They didn't hug? Like I probably first time watching this, I probably had more issues with this episode than I do now because it is a big Boomy here is a big change from the Boomy in the animated show.
He, I don't like how at all how you're not so lucky. You're gonna go see the king. Like
Yeah, that was dumb.
it was
That
dumb and pointless, and like that soldier knows his king isn't like a relentless bad monster. That's stupid.
also
Anyway,
Iroh's going to go live out slavery. Essentially, is the gist that I got from that. Like Iroh said, people go in and they don't be seen again. Oh, you're gonna go see the king. That's yeah.
you're not a
That was
criminal or a firebender. You're gonna go see the king, you unfortunate bastard. Like what? But whatever.
yeah.
That's issue. That's not a nitpick. That's an issue.
I'm gonna go ahead and get this one story element out of the way.
Please.
Jet meets up with Katara, or Katara finds Jet again, and they kind of have a confrontation. And then it's it's not even a fight. This really isn't a fight because Jet just tries to like talk to Katara, and then Katara like does some really great water bending and freezes him. Very, very much similar to how she does it in the animated show. There's one. This is a. Hmm, this is a nitpick, probably. Yeah, I'll call it nitpick. The way waterbenders freeze in this show, they're like blowing the water cold almost as if they're, which is it's kind of weird.
It feels like
While
an
like
unnecessary step for them to have to take to like
yeah,
blow cold air on it. That's not your.
yeah, like you're like yeah, it's like why you're blowing it cold when in the cartoon you just change it into
Yeah.
its cold into its ice
Or
state.
just bend it.
Like Paku does this. Yeah, Paco does this later in a fight, and I don't like. I get that when Katara first does that move, she goes, but that almost felt like herself was getting cold. Not the like in the coldness of her was just near her, but she was like she herself was getting cold, but she wasn't blowing cold air onto the
Yeah.
ice. And I may be actually misremembering that. I don't think about it.
Waterbending,
I
it
mean,
makes the most sense to me in the world that as a waterbender, you just stop the little molecules from moving at all, ergo cold. Like that's enough. You're just like, oh, stop, just stopping them. I'm bending but not moving them. I'm stopping them. Cold. Boom.
hmm,
Anyway, minor. I
yeah.
mean, speaking of like weird things, when we get there, I hope I remember. I want to say it's in episode 7 or 8, and I watched when I was rewatching it. I was rewatching it with my wife, and it's during the Zuko Katara fight, and I hope I remember to tell you about Heather's reaction to that fight. It was
Uh,
great. Oh, she was so invested. It was adorable. But
oh, well, okay,
yeah, she was.
nice. So that's in the Jet. That's the last we see with Jet.
Good.
There's no like police call or
No, I'm just
nothing,
kidding.
but yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way pretty quickly. Um, I'm gonna talk about. Hmm, how should I? I'll save that for last. Let's go. Wow, I kind of. I'm kind of just skimming through the episodes,
Mm?
but I
Well,
honestly think I have been like under appreciating how many different stories they put into some of these episodes. The first I'm like, oh, I should just talk about this plot or this plot or this plot, and they have like four different plots.
I'm gonna tell you,
going
Chris,
on.
that I think episodes 3 through 6 are so essentially the middle chunk are all, if it's a bad thing, bad offenders, and not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but they all try really hard to balance a whole lot of different stuff. 3 through 6, the big middle chunk.
Now, I think, yeah, I mean, we'll get to that. I think certain episodes does a way better job. Once we get to Spirit Away might be the worst episode.
I think so
Um,
too. I think I'm glad we agree on that. I think relatively it's going to be the worst.
all right.
Spoiler
Let's
alert. No.
focus. Yeah, let's focus in on the Aang Boomy plot, so I can kind of talk through that.
Yeah.
Aang Boomy is a lot more punny in this. He's like Nick Johnstone. Uh, very very punny. He wasn't punny in the animated show, except for that one line, which is just
Just one. Yeah.
impeccable writing. The "Let us leave," and I was weirdly worried they wouldn't do it here. And I mean, and the way he did it here was like, um, it
It was
wasn't as
delivered
funny,
completely
but
differently.
he's just like talking at the table. It's like, all right, let us leave, which it's just probably still fine. I probably would have laughed harder had I not watched the original show, because in the show, Aang is like, you have to let us leave, and at the same time, Boomy is chewing on. He's like, let us leave. I don't know why, but it just works more.
It it works better. Gosh, it's not that I don't want them to take a different path, and there's parts of Boomy that I like what they did, right? Like Boomy, 100 years later, isn't gonna act like Child Boomy, right? So it's like those changes to his motives and things I do like, but the delivery of Boomy's like quirkiness and stuff just felt just like forced over the top, awkward and then also trying to make a man in live action look both ripped and 112 years old is just not.
I think they did the best they could
They
do with
could,
it.
but Chris, that doesn't mean it was good. Like the best you can do and good are different, and it wasn't good.
I think it was. I'll go with good. Um, so Boomy and Aang, Boomy puts them through these trials and stuff. Which these trials,
They're
I want to
dumber
say these
and less
trials aren't
weighty.
as I I would I would say I think the trials in this are more irrelevant. Like
That's a good way to
I
put
don't
it.
know what Angus I don't know what Angus trying to I don't know what the point of the trials are in this one. Besides just Boomy just being like, I'm just effing with you. Like and then and that's not
Like his
good writing, I
Boomy,
don't.
you want it to be like, well, since he doesn't have to save Katara and Sokka, right? The like Boomy's trying to punish him. Is like, well, if he's trying to punish him, he's doing a really weird, awkward, like it just like picking at his patience more than punishing him.
Yeah, yeah,
It didn't
yeah.
it didn't. There's no stakes to it really until
Yeah.
until the one that we care about, I guess.
Yes. Yep. Then sorry. Um then
Which
Boomy's like, so I'll just go and cover the Boomy. So you know what? No, I'll go back because I can do that. I'll go back to Sokka and Kataro's story because they're like, hey, we gotta find Aang. Not find, we gotta save Aang. So they go through the secret tunnel, which honestly, some people have issues with this. I don't. I'm perfectly fine with the secret tunnel. I understand why people might have issues with it because one thing I love seeing Chong. That was great, and I love the
yeah,
whole interaction between Chong and Sokka. Sokka's like, and then he's like, "Hey, pick that up, play it," and then like he's just good. I like his Chong. It's not as like dumb as the Chong is from the animated show, but
he's a
I still
hippie
liked him
living
in
in a
my
mountain. What do you?
yeah.
How much? Yeah, I I don't have an issue with Chong or the caves in general. I
Okay.
would
So
I would
your opinion matters the most on this
oh
because you
yeah, well,
cosplay. Uh, Shawn.
and I got so many nice compliments. That made me feel good for like a month. Um,
I think you were the out of all the Avatar characters. Sorry, I think you were probably the most noteworthy of the others. Like, yeah, because even Kyoshi was kind of short, and so she wasn't like she didn't feel as
the
uh
hat was really tall, made me stand out. The
maybe yeah.
no, I thought I'm fine with all that. The just the way that they escalated the argument, and like I understand that siblings is kind of a different ballgame, but the way that they escalated the arguments made me feel like I was watching a whole like a high schooler made the movie and wrote the script. I can't describe the
Oh, okay.
Katara and Sokka's argument was so awkwardly escalated and I don't know, it kind of
I
fell flat as their
you know
transition into the solution.
I actually don't mind. I think you're right in the point that it's from a high school perspective, but I had this rant with all today about escalating fights and how a less mature, less emotionally intelligent person would just escalate fights to the point where like, oh, you're just trying to escalate to win whatever argument. And that is something a teenager would do. And so I wouldn't even say it's bad or right. I think it's weird, but also I think it's weird because that's not how I would argue in a fight. Like I would like what Katara says to Sokka is like, "You're not dad." like, like holy crap! Like what the heck? An emotionally intelligent person wouldn't do that, but she's 14, and so I was able to buy it.
I'm placing it at issue level, not quite. You know, somewhere but issue or qualm. I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, no,
Um,
yeah, I mean that's fair.
it was it just didn't feel true to any. We had not seen that level of their characters at
Uh,
any other point in time, and the timing was right. Like, oh, you're trapped in a cave and you're gonna die. So it's like, all right, well, I guess the situation feels right. It just the way it built was weird. I don't have too much issue with the cave. Like, I don't mind that Sokka made the dumb assumptions. Like, oh, it's brightest in the dark, and that's where we're gonna go follow the lights. You know, like that feels kind of on
you know what's
target.
funny about that is that I think they were again the animated, and I've said this before. The animated show has like way more imperfections that people just you just don't think about them. Like, and I've thought about this before, but also I'm just like I don't care. Like if they're like in the anime show, it says love is brightest in the dark. Like you gotta trust in, you just gotta trust in the love. Like don't trust in your own side, trust in love. The darkness when it goes dark, the lights will guide you. Like but the lights would have guided every single person's whose torch went out.
Yeah, like they would have
Like everyone
eventually their
would have
torch would have gone
gotten
out
the
before they
safety.
died.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And so the show, the live action show, has to be like, we got to make this make sense. Like, it's not the, it is still trust and love and stuff, but it's the badger moles will sense, probably your pheromones and stuff like that, which is pretty believable. Believable enough. I mean, animals can sense fear, and I'm sure they can sense, I don't know, other
Yeah, just like
things.
yeah, I had no issues with that change at all. I kind of like seeing the badger moles and like the changing tunnels explains the badger moles causing the changing tunnels and changing tunnels is causing lots of people to die. That I have no
Mhm.
issues with that. Yeah, it's just the weird character bits in the tunnel that just hit me wrong. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah, that's fine.
yeah.
How do you feel? So anyway, they get over their stuff, and then by the end, there it's like they're about to get eaten by the badger mole, and then they hold hands and they trust them. They apologize to each other and they show their love for each other, and that's what the badger moles get to not attack them. So some people hate that because like secret tunnel, like that's a tunnel of love, and the anime show depicts like a romantic love. While this is a sibling love, I understand people's qualms with it. I don't think anyone's qualms is like, oh, that's gross. Maybe a few people are like, ew, that's gross.
Oh,
But
those people are
to me,
silly.
that's yeah, to me, that's silly. Like, love is love. Like, it's like if it's trust and love, like it's not like oh, trust and romantic love. You got to be attracted. It's just love. And so I am fine with it in that sense. I understand people's issues with it that like, hey, this takes away like a very key Tang moment. I'm like, yeah, okay, I understand that qualm with it, but to me, it's only at most a qualm because there'll be plenty of opportunities for them to add that romantic tension between uh, Katara and Aang.
Also, there's something about a whole lot of romantic tension between small children and live action that I'm way less interested in seeing. It's like anime. It's like, oh, it's
Uh,
anime. I don't. Yeah. So, I thought it made the Badger Mole look very emotionally aware, but I don't have any issues. Frozen does that too, right? Where you get the sister sibling love saves the day at the end or whatever.
yeah,
That's fine. That's a different take.
yeah. So they get out and they were able to, yeah. So they get out the tunnel. Aang and Boomy fight, which I'm not like a huge fan of the fight itself, but I've come to like really enjoy the Boomy dialogue with Aang, which I think is actually like really pretty strong there.
Boomy's motives have grown on me a lot. I didn't like him at all the first time I watched. Now I do. Like I said, I like that 100 year later Boomy would would have these thoughts and feelings. I'm not 100% sold on like all the dialogue and the nitpicks, but in general, I like the way that Boomy reacted to seeing Aang after 100 years. Like he could have died and Boomy would have been better off, you know. So
Mm,
I get it.
yeah,
And the fight
and
the fight itself isn't amazing, but it's entertaining enough. In the end, the tough choice has the impact that it's supposed to.
yeah, I think the fight has. It's interesting now. Now that I'm kind of watching the fight. Um, there's a little bit of great action. Like Boomy like turns and freaking rocks into like bullets and stuff and dodges them and stuff. That stuff looks really great. I think when I first watched it, the fight didn't impact me that much because I'm like, all right, I know this fight isn't gonna be like it's gonna end and it's not gonna
Nobody's dying
like
here.
there's no conflict here. But I do think they added a little element to it of like Boomy's just like, hey, you have to like this is war. Like you've been gone for 100 years. You haven't lived these 100 years. One thing that's also a really good line. I think he said like
You might be a
you might,
100 years old, but you haven't lived 100 years. I think something like that.
yeah, yeah, especially these 100 years. And it's like Boomy has been living 100 years of war, while Aang has been like just sleeping. And
Yeah,
he even says that to him, like, "Oh, that must have been pretty nice, just sleep away and stuff." Like, Boomy's way more resentful than ever.
yeah.
Completely different Boomy.
I'm gonna say so. I
Uh,
mentioned like I'm completely good with these motives and that change to Boomy. I still
mm,
disagree with the methods, right? Like the way that he went about the other tasks. The fight,
yes,
I'm kind of okay
yeah,
with the fight. Like, yeah, let's vent out something. I don't think he'd go to the death with the avatar. Feels a little extreme, but like as a little vent method. So happy with the
yeah.
motives, questionable on the methods.
I agree with that. The first couple of different games seem irrelevant. The last one I like because he's like, "Hey, you gotta choose between me or you. Like, you gotta make these hard choices. This is war." And then Katara and Sokka comes in. He's like, "Hey, you cheated," and Aang is like, "Well, hey, I'm gonna do it with my friends. You know, that's how I'm gonna do it," which makes me more mad at like later on in the season where Aang is like, I don't know about my friends.
Yeah,
Like
where he
I can
gets
do about
real choppy because of one 5 minute conversation.
yeah. Um,
Yeah,
but
agreed.
I I like how the fight goes. And stuff. That stuff sounds good. So that's that part of the story. That ends that part of the story. Now there is oh, anything you want to add on like the Boomy, Secret Tunnel, Aang, Katara stuff?
Nope, think I hit the points I care about there.
Okay. The B plot, so is the Zuko breaking out Arrow, and this stuff is freaking strong. I think like this is the episode Winter Solstice Part One where Iroh gets captured by the Earth Kingdom people, and they're kind of like, "Oh, this is a great dragon of the West." Like, but here, deep stuff, deep conversations between Iroh and the Earth Kingdom soldier. Earth Kingdom soldier is like he says some freaking heavy stuff to Iroh. Um, like he talks about the siege. He talks about how his brother was like also a soldier, but his brother was like way more kind-hearted than him. But he died on the front lines.
And that's in this one and not the next one. That is in
Yep.
this one. Okay.
Um, and like he slaps the crap out of Iroh too. Um, it's just really like I've said this before. I love Iroh. He's my favorite character. And to ignore the tragedy he's done is to not fully appreciate his character arc. And this here comes full circle. And even this Iroh is a lot different than his reactions isn't what I expected him to be. Because his reactions were like, this is just war. Like, what do you want from me? Like that that is
This
so different.
this Iroh just feels like a not 100% fully metamorphosed Iroh, and I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah.
Like he's not all the way
Uh
out of the bad guy tunnel just yet, or like he's in
mm,
less, not like less denial. He's just I don't know. He's not fully realized yet, and that's completely fine. As opposed to fully realized Iroh in the animated series, who seems fully realized, but he's still like helping a kid hunt down the Avatar. You know?
yeah, yep. Yeah, this one hasn't fully changed his mind.
Yeah, and I'm
Or yeah.
completely okay with that. I won't be okay if he doesn't ever become the full good Iroh that I want to know. Like that's a change that I don't want you to make, but we don't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. This actor, this Earth Kingdom soldier actor, I think did a great job. Like he also did a great job painting the picture. Like I like all that is exposition and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's telling us, no one's showing us anything, but he's painting a vivid picture of his brother, of the war and stuff. And you see how it sticks with him. Like he says, like I can still smell smoke when I go to sleep at night. Like that is some harsh stuff that Iroh it it, it puts Iroh's bad deeds front and center, and I really like that.
I think that's good.
Um, then we Iroh mentioned before, this talk of the war and everything, and how it was a wartime and stuff makes Iroh flash back to when Liu Ten died. Um, and this is their little soldier moment. I know a lot of people are like, oh man, they got to do Iroh, Brave Soldier Boy. I'm sorry, like Leaves from the Vine song, and I'm like, they don't need to do it. They kind of did their own version of it in this episode, like Iroh at Luten's wake or at his funeral. To me, they serve the same purpose.
Mm,
It's the little spin on it. Like it's one of my favorite moments in the whole entire show. It's Iroh at Luten's wake. Ozai first comes, says something to him like Luten was honorable and stuff. Such a great achievement. Like to die in war is a great achievement because it's honorable.
To die in
But I,
service of the Fire Nation, I
yeah,
believe is
yeah.
his words.
And then Zuko comes up, gives him kind of that same spiel, and then Zuko starts to walk away. And then there's a little bit of Zuko that's like, "Wait, let me be empathetic. Like, let me give him what he actually needs." And he gives a little story about Luton, which also adds a lot more to Luton. You know, we don't get as much about Luton and the show, but here we get a sense of like, all right, he was a really good cousin, almost a big brother to Zuko. And Zuko tells the story about the pendant and everything, but how like Luton really didn't need it because he was braver than all of us. And then he sits by side of Iroh and Leaves from the Vine is playing in the background, and the Iroh sheds a tear. It's so freaking good.
You know, the best part about this take on that moment is that like Zuko helps instigate it. I think it's great. It's like you said, it scratches the same itch, but it's a very different approach to a sensitive moment. I think that's great adaptation work right there.
Yep, yep, yep. And then their story ends with I kind of forget how good their fight is. They have a really good fight once Zuko finds. Um, I won't say it's a really good fight, but it's a good fight. Once Zuko finds Iroh, they face the Earth Kingdom soldiers, and
It's a shorter
and they
fight, but it's
it is
good
short, yeah.
looking.
Yes, yeah. They end up defeating them, and Iroh could kill the soldier, but he ends up sparing him, and I think he gets attacked anyway.
But then the last thing you said when he spares him is like very poignant, right? It's just the simple enough blood has been shed or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's where
Yep.
Iroh's
Like,
at right now. Like I'm not fully changed over, but I get it.
yeah, it's like Iroh's like war is bad, but he needs to get to the point of like the Fire Nation is bad.
Yeah,
We
he's
need, I need to stop the Fire Nation.
he's working on it. He's working on
Yeah, yeah, he's
it.
working. He's a work in progress in this one.
Good.
Then that is essentially. Oh, that's not the end because we go to they're on Iroh and Zuko go away, and they're on a boat, and they're always on a boat, and it flashbacks to right when Zuko is departing on his banishment, and Iroh joins him, and Zuko's like, we're not allowed to come back until I capture the Avatar, and Iroh's like, I have everything I need on the ship, and then like, such a great moment, and then and they play it up,
He makes the
and
tea joke too, right? Like classic
yeah,
Iroh.
yeah. This Zuko is he's so different. Like I don't at first I didn't like how less angry they made him. And they made a lot of characters less angry and abrasive. And it's weird because you would think I would hate it most for Zuko, but it allows a different kind of look at Zuko, just a different little lens, different way to digest the character. And I really like this portrayal of the character.
I do too. I would say when he has some of his tantrums, I want some of those to manifest a little more rage like than just like childish outbursts, right? But in the
Mm.
big picture, I like that Zuko is less he's less linear, more choppy. He's less kind of narrow minded. Like there's a human in there that you can already see early on and like, and I think that's good. I'm a fan.
Yeah. Yeah. Great moment. I'm kind of watching it right now. And oh man, Iroh's eyes get all welly up and stuff. It gets watery and everything. Everything I need is on this boat. Uh,
I love jasmine tea or whatever he's. I forget what he's.
yeah, he says, like I said, all the tea I need.
All the tea. I need. That's it.
Yeah. That's such a great Iroh moment. Uh, and even Zuko smirks, and it's just dim, and then it flashes back to the present time. It's just dim on a boat, and just kind of seldom because Iroh's a little injured. It's them two is all they need. Really, really great stuff. That's the episode.
That's it. Let's do some ratings. I went first last week. You can give me your audio visual first this week.
All right, audio visual. I gave this one an 8. This one. No, I should give an 8.5. 8.5, yes, because I think the acting was done so well in those scenes with Iroh and Zuko. Um, that the Iroh and Zuko stuff carried that a lot. Yeah,
That's where we're gonna be different, Chris. It does. If it weren't for that Iroh Zuko moment, if you like, we're gonna weight that moment differently relative to the episode. Cause that's an amazing moment. Chris, this is easily the worst and least interesting looking and sounding episode to this point. Even with that, because that gotta keep in mind, man, those moments. That's like 5 minutes out of 45, something
that
like
is
that.
true.
But so I gave it a 6. This is the worst audio visual, and it's that to this point. It's not close. There's a lot of stuff that's in caves, inside of the castle, like Aang and Boomy. A lot of stuff isn't very interesting, and that fight's okay, but there's parts of it that don't look great, etc. So I give it a
Yeah,
6.
yeah.
Story.
Story given 8.5. Man, the Iroh stuff. I also do realize they did stuff they did with Boomy in a sense of totality.
Uh-huh.
And I like the changes they made to Boomy. I don't know what Boomy I prefer more or less. But I like what they did with Boomy here. I think it's a very valid interpretation of the character. The stuff with the stuff with Katara and Saga could have drugged this down, but good stuff with the story.
That we're heading straight towards our greatest rating disparity yet. I
Good.
I did a 6 on this as well. I would like this Boomy better if they had executed around him better. I think this is a better Boomy, or it would be, but missing pieces around him. Again, there's a lot of time spent in caves, kind of listening to. There's more Katara and Sokka just arguing in black caves than there is Zuko and Iroh, and that's important to me because that's the part that's like, what the hell happened to the rest of this episode?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, the story to this episode feels like last episode we got good meaty parts of good story, and then this episode was like, all right, we got to figure out how to tie those loose ends up real quick. Is what this one felt to me on rewatch. So
Mm.
6. All right, hit me with your memorable.
8.5. Make it simple for you. Comes out to 8.5.
Nice.
It's
Chris, do you know what that
this.
means? This
Are
is
we
your
are
this
we
is your
off?
this is your highest rated episode so far. This is your favorite episode so
I'm not
far?
surprised at that. I am not surprised by that at all because I absolutely love the Iroh Zuko stuff, and I don't mind some of the stuff. Episode three, I'm sorry, episode three so far is probably my least.
It's your lowest rated. It is a 7.9. Episode 1 you had an 8.1.
Yeah.
That's man, we are so
Uh,
opposite. Yeah, that's wild. That's fine.
yeah.
Uh I listen, man, those
Are you
moments are
gonna give
great.
this a 5? You're gonna give it
No. Memorable's the good part because that's where I put that extra weight of how much I love the Zuko Iroh interactions, or the parts of Boomy that hit me the hardest, that like, all right, if you wipe away the rough edges, whatever. So I gave it a 7. but we're still talking
Sure.
about essentially your favorite episode and my least favorite episode to this point.
That's funny.
It is funny, but it those moments really do make it all worthwhile. Some it's I'm gonna say it's in my top two favorite moments of the series. The funeral, the celebration of life. And the end too, right when they reconvene and
Yeah.
talk about and Zuko and the interaction with Ozai in there as well. That's a good different take on Ozai, and those those are the carrying moments that make it worthwhile. But anyway, you're 8.5. I'm 6.3. Pardon me. That is our greatest disparity so far.
That that might be our greatest disparity ever.
That's
A
gonna be
2.2.
that's gonna be a big swing. Yeah.
Thing is, why?
I don't even think our beach and stuff was that far apart.
Yeah. Thing
Uh,
is, when I was watching, like I said, when I was watching these last two episodes, I was multitasking, and I could tell I really love this episode. I stopped doing what I was doing and I watched the episode. Even though I've seen this four or so times, I'm like, oh no, I gotta. When something can grab my attention, even though I'm purposely like, I'm doing this and this, like, no, I gotta put down what I'm doing and watch what's going on.
I'm gonna do a quick absolute value difference in our other episodes here. All right. Do you remember
Let's see.
episode 12 of the animated series? You remember? This feels like a quiz. I don't mean it to, but episode 12 of the animated series. What's that one?
Okay, well, uh, uh, dang it, it's probably. Oh my gosh, now.
Northern Air Temple.
Oh, okay.
I like that one a lot. You don't love it. That's a big one.
What was that? What was the
One
difference there?
1.7.
Oh, okay.
Episode 45.
No, no, Sean. Episode 12 is the storm,
Oh, the storm. Okay, that makes sense.
but
Uh,
I love the storm.
you do love the
That's where we're
storm.
different there.
Uh, episode 45 is a little higher 1.7. Slightly higher 1.7.
Episode 45 is the beach.
The beach. Okay, that's what I expected. It was above 1.7. Storm was a hair below 1.7. I could probably get more on board with the
These
storm
are.
when we
Yeah.
re-rate these episodes. I can probably get more on board with the storm, especially in light of the live action series. But at the beach, I hate that kind of episode. It's not a type I enjoy.
Hmm.
But interesting. So Into the Dark. Hey,
So
but we did say, and I think we're both going to be spot on. Next episode's the worst one. I don't think that's going to surprise either of us.
I think it's a lot of people's worst one.
Yeah, it should be. Chris, tell me how do you feel about the adaptation caliber here?
This is a interesting. It's a really, if I split up into the three different plot points. There's the Katara, Aang, Secret Tunnel stuff, which that one I was just like, whatever, it's fine. Some stuff could have been better, but maybe it's a little worse. But changes being made to Boomy, like to me, these are like two different types of Boomy, and they're both very, very valid and good interpretations of that character. Great portrayals of the character, I think. In a sense of like in totality. Um, so I think in that sense, I think it did a great job adapting it because it's like, all right, you're providing something new, something to make this worth watching. Yeah, so I think that's great. The Iroh Zuko stuff. I would say I would go so far as say it's an improvement. That little moment there, and not that I would add that to. No, I would. Yes, I think even that would be great for the Zuko in the cartoon because it would show like such a difference between the Zuko before being scarred and the Zuko after being scarred. Because the Zuko right after being banished would not be like it'd be like the Zuko before. He would not be being right there with Iroh at Luten's wake.
So you're going thumbs up?
Oh, so yeah, thumbs up all around. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I said bad because if it weren't for the Zuko Aerobit, which I completely agree, Chris, you could take the Zuko Aerobit and plug it into the animated series, and it would be better for it. Absolutely. Um, if it weren't for that, the only next even kind of good redeeming quality is again those kind of boomy, but the motives.
Mhm.
But they
Yeah.
just didn't execute it as well as I wanted it in my brain. So if you take away that moment, it's like the worst kind of adaptation where it's like, let's make everything a little more dramatic. And let's just
Mhm.
make people yell louder at each other and stuff. I like it. It would be my least favorite type of adaptation, absolutely, if it weren't for that one redeeming quality, and that's just not enough to carry the whole episode for me. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just we're just weighting that moment very differently, and that's fine. It's a great moment, top two moment. So I did bad though. Anyway, hey, that's fun. We had a episode where we were literally like exactly the same almost. An episode where we were exactly opposite. That's kind of funny.
Our biggest divide yet.
The
Our
Great
biggest great
Divide. So
divide.
my God, there's no need for a Great Divide episode, Chris. It was in us all along. That's sorry. I know
Uh,
it's not the first time or the
I
last time we'll make this joke, but that sounds worse because we're white and black. But anyway, I interrupted you saying something. Go ahead.
I don't know what I was gonna say. Oh, I think. I was just curious how these episodes will how all the episodes will rank out.
You know what? I think that it makes me a little sad that I think our averages would be less useful to people because of the like I said, even where it's like, well, we both the first two episodes had a spread, but
Mhm.
it was like kind of even across the board. It's like everything I did was just a point lower than you. But that in my mind, it makes the overall like shared average a little less useful. I don't know why I'm thinking that way, but
Yeah.
whereas
We're
if you
also
go to the
dealing with
animated
the
show, if
we're
you
also dealing with a lower volume count, so maybe that
oh yeah,
affects a little bit.
it could be. Whereas if you went to the animated show, and with the exception of those like couple of outliers we just mentioned, if somebody's like, "Hey, how good is this episode?" I'd like toss whatever number we say it and be like, "This is it. That's an
Nah. Oh,
accurate. That's an educated representation of how good the episode is." But here it's like, we like or different coming from different places, and it feels more disparate. I would probably have to give. I'd be like, my 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 Avatar fanatic friend Chris gives it this, and me from a different place give it this, and you have to take those do something with that information. Let's hope
yeah.
nobody ever asks me that question. For what it's worth, this is unrelated, not directly related. Heather watched the whole thing, and in general, she likes original Avatar, and she watched the whole thing, and in general, she was engaged. I'll give her engaged. Probably closer to me than you, but you know what? Actually, I don't think she needed it or wanted it or was looking forward to it as much. She might be a hair lower than me, but she still watched it and
Oh,
enjoyed it. Right? Like she wasn't waiting around or looking for reasons to watch more Avatar, I guess. So that probably impacts her. But she did have some funny reactions in the last two episodes in particular that made me laugh because it's like the things I'm thinking and then she's saying them out loud. And I'm like, oh, good. It's not just me. But all right. Hey, it's really late. It's time for bed. My name's Shawn.
I'm sleepy.
That's yeah. It's a holiday weekend, so I get two sleep ins, and I love that. Wait, we normally get two sleep ins.
Oh.
I get three sleep ins. That's pretty exciting.
I took the day off today, so I got a 4 day
Nice,
weekend.
nice, great choice. My name's Sean Taylor. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. This Avatar: The Last Podcasters. We just talked for a really long time about episode 4 of the Netflix live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series. It's called Into the Dark, which only describes one of the plot lines and the less important one. At that, that's why it's a dumb title. And comments, likes,
We should
subs, bells. Go ahead.
Should have retitled it. What title would I give
What would
it?
we title? I mean, it would need to be something related to like interpersonal.
Hmm.
I would want it to be more reflective of Zuko Iroh and Aang Bumi's that relationship
Yeah.
dynamic. It feels too on the
Out,
nose for the least important storyline.
something about the past. Out of the past, maybe. But
back
I think
to
that's the
the
actual episode
back
title.
to the future. We thought it'd be funny if he, it's
Why that movie is really weird.
it's not even a
Like,
great movie. People overdo that one a little bit.
hmm.
It's a fine. It is a fine movie. It's not a great movie.
I think because it was the first movie that did time travel. Like, I'm not sure if it was the first movie that did time travel, but
I'm gonna
it
guess
feels
almost
like the
certainly
first
not, but
movie.
like the first big major motion picture that did, I bet so.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
yeah.
great.
I'm curious.
We haven't referenced John Mulaney in a while. It feels like a good place.
Mhm. Yeah, we're overdue.
Yep. And anyway, likes, comments, bells, positive reviews, whatever form of engagement you are willing to take with us, we appreciate it. We appreciate it all. And thanks for listening or watching. We'll see you next time.
That 10th somewhere in time. Wonder what that's about. Oh, so Christopher Reeve.